I bet you're wondering, hey Liam, why are you talking to us through a closed window? Well, that's because my 41-year-old BMW has electric windows that do not work, amongst many other problems. But that's something I want to try and fix today, as well as the fact that I can't actually get out of this door because it's got no door handle on it. So we're going to see if we can fix that too. Yo! Do you mind letting me out?
This is my 1984 BMW E28, and if you haven't seen my journey with this car so far, I suggest going back and watching the first video on it, where we revived it from sitting on a farm for nearly 6 years. So far on the BMW, we have replaced all spark plugs, all spark leads, a bunch of fuses, rewired the fuel pump to a kill switch, fixed a bunch of dodgy electrical work, added an air filter, put the front bumper back on, replaced the front brake lines and bled all the brakes, as well as replaced the idle air control valve and given the engine bay a pretty good clean. So now that you're all caught up, we can move on to doing some more fun things, more electrical work and painting the calipers.
We've also got some high temp red caliper paint to touch up the destroyed calipers on this car because I need to do the brakes, but before I get new brakes, I want to fix the calipers so it doesn't matter if I get overspray on them, and this should do the trick. Let's start off with the easiest part and do the calipers because the electricals are going to be a big job. So if you want to know how to spray calipers the wrong way, watch this video. Otherwise, go and watch someone's proper tutorial on how to do it properly off the car and bake them in the oven or something, but we're not doing that.
Honestly, you just yap and you yap and you yap, and the more you yap, I just keep my ears shut. I don't know.
Fucking hell, mate, full of rust back here,
There's not a single drop of rust on this whole car. Nah, the car's mint, man.
I'll give you 25 bucks and a firm handshake.
No deal.
The plan was to switch these wheels with the ones on my E34.
Now I know what you're probably thinking. This doesn't look like my E28. Well, that's because it's not. It's obviously my E34, but we're stealing the wheels off of it because they've actually got brand new tires on them because I put brand new tires on them. And the E28, well, it needs its wheels because I want to drive that instead of this.
But unfortunately, when I got down there to do it, the lug nuts I had were too short to fit the old rims on the E34, so I couldn't switch them. So we're going to stick with these ones and we're going to put new tires on them.
There's a big fucking spider.
As you can see, the paint on this caliper is pretty cool. I was thinking about doing blue instead, but I think red's can just stay red. So before we paint anything, I want to hit it with some fantastic Selleys multi-purpose clean. Give it a little brush down, give it a light sand with a 4-600 grit, and then go to town. Obviously, I'm going to plastic up behind and as much of the brake disc I can, but once again, I don't care about these. They're gonna get replaced because as you can see, they're really fucking old and really fucking rusty. And before you ask, are you going to paint the caliper pin and the back of the brake pad? Abso-fucking-lutely.
And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Liam, this is a very easy job. Why are you showing us this? Well, it's because everything on this car has been quite small, but when you add all those small things together, it ends up being a pretty big project.
This is the fun part of any job. While that paint dries, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that we did the first ever test drive in this car, so just around the street basically, to know whether we could take it to the mechanic and actually get it registered. And it drove all right, except for the fact that I had forgotten to torque down the rear wheels properly, and one of them nearly came off.
The wheel wasn't on properly. I thought, oh, there's something up with the back suspension. Jeremy gets out and has a look, and that. I swear I tightened that. So if I tighten them, it's ended up like that, then it's going to be something wrong with the lug nuts or whatever. But the rest of the wheels are fine. They definitely need air pressure in them.
Now we've got to make sure that's not a consistent problem and something to do with the lug nuts, because I don't want to be driving and the wheel just falls off. So I'm going to run it again, test drive it to get inspected, and then hopefully the wheel doesn't come off, and they will also end up telling us what it needs to pass inspection, because right now it seems to be running all right. It just needs a lot more fuel in it because it was on about 5 litres and it's been on about 5 litres since I got it back from the farm. So it was running pretty empty. Now instead of putting the wheel that was on here back on, I have to swap the front two ones because they're actually meant to be on the other side, and for some reason they're on the wrong side.
These are the other set of wheels we have for the car. They are actually like a BBS. Pretty sure they're genuine BBS too. It's written here. Pretty sure they are warped. We've got to get them repaired or refinished somehow. That would be nice. But I don't know whether to go full chrome or a kind of powder coated center with a chrome lip. So you guys let me know in the comments below what you think might look better.
Now we're just going to repeat everything we did from that side on this side.
And off she comes. Oh my god, there's another big spider. Now we have the final product. As you can see, that looks so much better through the wheel. Don't mind the overspray on the tires, they're gonna get replaced anyway. The caliper looks pretty damn mint. Now I have to clean up and respray this wheel and put it back on this side because this tire has got a massive hole in it and this wheel just is completely buckled. And just like that, the old wheel is back on. And honestly, the calipers look pretty damn good. And now we have the important part, figuring out why the hell the electric windows do not work. Because in 1984, apparently, this car came with electric windows. I think if I can't solve this today, I'm probably going to convert these to manual windows only because one less electrical item in this car would actually be preferred. Because if all of you guys know, old cars and electric wiring harnesses, they're a headache. So if I can convert these to manual and find an assembly for this car that just makes this into a wind-up, that would be probably a lot better.
But sometimes you overthink really easy problems, and especially with old cars, it's usually the really easy solution that's the answer, which I came to find out pretty quickly.
So I'm going to attempt to do this without breaking anything on this door because, as you know, old cars are pretty fragile. So my best bet is to go very carefully and see if any tutorials online show me exactly where to pop off this door card without breaking any other tabs. I believe we have to remove this, which is just 1 or 2 bolts. Well, we did it. Probably broke something, but nothing we can't fix. And there's my door handle, which is the main reason I took this fucking thing off. That is my door handle. To see if this door handle works, and if it doesn't, I'm trapped in the car forever. Bingo, it works. Should I find a replacement? Absolutely. Because that's gonna happen, where it just falls back in the door. It's just fucking hanging there. That's pieces of it. Not from me, by the way.
Now the logical next step would be to use a multimeter to test the connections in the motor or somehow power it with an external battery to see if it reacts to power and actually works.
And I definitely don't want to be cutting anything to figure that out.
But my multimeter is broken at the moment, so instead of doing that, I've fiddled around with a bunch of wires and decided it was a good idea to pull out the whole bottom dashboard.
So I don't see why it wouldn't work, but we might have to take off the dash again. Unzip tie my previously zip tied dashboard. This is single-handedly the best cutting tool I've ever got. Boom, that easy. And then there's just one more actual screw holding this in.
3 hours later.
Sometimes when working on issues like this, it's easiest just to stop and look at things because eventually when you look at things long enough, you figure out the mistake you were making.
You know, when I see a car like this, first thing I do is I say, would you look at this?
I've never done electronics at all besides in this car, so it's really hard to kind of make sense of the fucking absolute mess that's underneath this dashboard. The wiring is there, it looks okay. I made sure that the buttons underneath the buttons were actually connected. They're connected. The only thing I'm thinking is it might be a fuse, but it has old style ceramic fuses, which luckily I bought, but none of them look broken. So we're gonna try and find one that is broken and see maybe if that's the cause of our problem.
But in fact, it wasn't a fuse. It was something even easier.
I'm not gonna pretend like I knew what I was doing, but I just messed around with a bunch of stuff. I was ready to give up for tonight and get a multimeter battery, but I just noticed that the lights came on the buttons on the windows, just all of a sudden. I have no clue why, but look at that. What the hell? When I tell you this car is a mystery, I mean it. It's a mystery. So now that the car's on, will they work? What the hell? So we just saved so much time and I have no idea what I did.
But it didn't take long to figure out exactly what I had touched and why these windows weren't working to begin with.
I just figured it out. So I was playing around with a switch under the dash, which is this right here. It's actually a button connected to here. It was not clicked in properly. And now that that is clicked in properly, these light up and they also work. That one's a bit slow. Actually, never mind, that one doesn't work, but that one works. So we have 3 out of the 4 windows were now working on the car because I messed around with a switch that I didn't think had anything to do with that. So thanks ChatGPT, because it kind of pointed me towards there might be a kill switch. Why you'd have a kill switch for the windows is beyond me.
I figured out that it's pretty clear whoever wired this car was experiencing a bit of a battery drain issue, because even when you turn off the car, the lights on the window switches still stay on, which is probably why they put a kill switch in.